Hello everyone, welcome back to more of the Ace Attorney Chronicles. Going back to episode 2, the Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. What is happening with the stick? Okay, 1 second, I'm gonna check the chat and all that. Okay, I think we're good with the mic, so let's get into it. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern exchange student from his harrowing plight, then in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
My name is Rinosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients of Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. "30th of August, 7:28.
Ah, Reno, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready.
Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning." "Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the truest thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes." "Ah, yes, I see. So that's it. Can you back up?" "The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again." What are you talking about?" "You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise." "Well, is that not the case?" Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has. And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you.
Really pull your button off?
Ah, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder, then, that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring.
But Harley, Bruno said he would when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning.
Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name.
Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend.
And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes's lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl, who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, as published in Rance magazine. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Ah, well, I received a letter from Japan.
Oh, from Susie you mean? Was it, really?
That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast.
Oh yes, what fun!
I'm gonna look around your room, if you don't mind, sir. That machine really is imposing, isn't it? But I can never remember its name.
Harley calls it his great analytoscope. It can analyze anything at all.
That doesn't really help me. What does analyzing something even mean? Ah, an extremely astute question, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry. Well, as Iris said, my machine here spits out analysis results of anything with which you care to present it. But how to interpret those results, that's the key. And I confess I have no idea. Clearly, I'm going to have to construct a great analytoscope to solve the problem. That might not help. Analytoscope. Books, papers, scientific implements, these shelves are stuffed to the gunwales, the sono and helper song,
Susie might not be able to stand us, but she won't dare touch those shelves.
Why not?
Everything in intricate balance. Harley spends ages on it. Before touching one thing, the whole lot will come to an seems a very delicate arrangement. Right on the outset. If it sounds like a meeting of great minds, what the truth is, Mr. Show just needs to tidy up. Ah yes, Mr. Show's faithful musical companion. Wasn't this violin made by somebody famous? Yes, it's a Stradivarius. Though I'm afraid you have to save up for 100 years before you could afford one, Bruno. But didn't you buy it for a song, Mr. Sholmes? I found it at a pawnbrokery among the forfeited articles. It clearly said Stradivarius on the label. What?
The ignorant broker had no idea of its true value, you see, so I paid a mere 55 shillings for it. Yes, I have something of a turn for shopping. Sherlock Holmes, bargain hunter. But is it really a Stradivarius then? But of course, my dear fellow, it said so on the label. I think perhaps the ignorant broker had something of a turn for selling. I'm not gonna try to voice act all these examination things, because that's too much of my voice. When it gets to this time of the year, Londoners seem to leave their hearts alight all day long, and I love it. There's something very relaxing about watching the flames flit and dance about. Especially when I'm doing Sherlock, that he tires me out. But a fireplace in days of summertime is a waste of space, really no use at all. Rather like a great detective in days of no crimes and no criminals, Hurley. But consider this, instead of a fireplace, a frost place. That's my latest idea. An extraordinary hearth from which emanates a cool breeze in the hot summer months. What do you think? I think if you invented such a thing, your name would go down in history. The principle is extremely simple. One must, of course, light a cold fire in the hearth. Yes, of course. Brilliant. The trouble is, none of the fires I build ever burn cold. How it taunts me. So, as you British say, it's a bit of a damp squib. Ah yes, the huge metal chest with the lace cloth laid on it, being used as a table for tea and coffee. It's very sturdy, that's for sure, and firmly locked shut. That chest contains my father's detailed records of Hurley's many cases. Yes, so I've been led to believe, though personally I never actually seen inside. And that's the way it will stay. Those papers are a secret between Daddy and me. If you go opening it uninvited, you might find yourself being bitten. What? Is there a beast inside there or something? Maybe... They're different pieces of evidence from cases you've solved, aren't they, Mr. Sholmes? Not quite, Mr. Naruhodo, not quite. These trinkets are a selection from cases I've solved with particular aplomb. They're souvenirs of my success. Memoirs, Mr. Naruhodo, memoirs. Really? So tell me about the case in which the bust of Napoleon featured. I forget. Memories, he says. Wonderful, Mr. Sholmes, wonderful. Ah yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? What's in the melting pot today? The blue carbuncle. Yes, it's from a case of theft that Hurley solved ages ago. The theft of a precious stone. A carbuncle is another name for a garnet, you see, especially if it's cut with a rounded top. Really? And this garnet was blue, was it? Well, that's the thing. They're usually red. No blue garnets have ever been discovered. Oh. So who knows what the stolen gemstone actually was? That's the real mystery of the case. Proper Sherlock Holmes conundrum, huh? See, the answer is, it's a ruby and a sapphire at the same time. And that's why it changes colors. It's like, ruby's taking over, I'm gonna be red. Now sapphire's taking over, I'm gonna be blue. Steven Universe. I'm looking forward to finding out what aroma your tea will have, Iris, every single day. Well, I infuse a different concoction of herbs in the garden every time, so it's never the same twice. When you call it a concoction, it sounds more like a science experiment than something for tea time. Oh yes, that's because different blends can have very different properties. Some calm you down, some make you feel jolly, some give you energy. Today's particular blend is something quite special, so you're really in for a treat. That sounds ominous. I can type with my eyes shut, you know. I can believe it. When a deadline's approaching, you sound like a Gatling gun. That reminds me of a dream I had the other day. It was such a funny one. It woke me, actually. I was
was typing for a whole hour in the pitch black, but I didn't make a single mistake.
That's incredible.
But then, when it got light, I found that there wasn't any paper in the machine. Now I wonder if I've actually been typing at all.
I think you might just have fallen asleep on the job. Typing noises.
Can I...
Okay, well they're letting me up here, so... Okay. Kettle... Japanese tea... Come on. Not a spade, no it's shovelers aren't reserved. Maybe I'll have to do it myself. That's not a spade, it's a shovel. Tea set. Oh no. Not a mess at all. She put her hands on her hips and say, "Oh dear." Her way of saying that. I missed that. Yes, the Daruma doll I brought me from Japan. Still winking at me like it's trying to say, I can wait, take as long as you need. Or maybe not. I'll just have to keep on doing the best I can, I suppose. It's Yamasa's desk. Seawater, conversation, a lot of effort. Funny to think so many people in London had aquariums like this once. I'll have to name them. Name the anemone. This is not over. I can go in, but I don't dare. As they say, young maiden's private chamber is a place for bittersweet secrets. I think that's everything. Let's go back down. And now let's move on to the story. Mrs. Otto's letter. This is a letter that arrived from Japan this morning by international post.
Oh, how lovely! Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it.
And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case.
Really? Oh, isn't she wonderful?
Cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume... No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man twice. You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago? Ah, the mustached twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and mustache.
He didn't have 2 mustaches, had he?
Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. Startling news. So, what was this startling news penned by Mr. Zotto? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, that's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Mrs. Otto asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago, for what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Mrs. Otto's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram.
Oh, that case, yes. It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I had compiled the whole story in a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said. Very mysteriously as well.
Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Mrs. Otto was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? Patrice?
It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan.
Indeed it was. Due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No. It just said he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse.
A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home. Why would he do that?
I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that, I wonder what Mrs. Otto's father is hiding.
Hurley, do you know what it's all about?
Well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris?
I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later.
He scuttled off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Saseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes.
Aha! I found them at last!
Iris, are they...
The notes about the case? That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Bruno?
Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light.
That's the spirit.
And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. So sad. It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. That man was Saseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Suzato-san and I decided to represent Saseki-san in court. And, after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Potts at once! So Suzato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. So is that's a big rat. 21st February, 5:30 a.m. Is that a trophy? The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh! Oh, hey, Suzato. You're late. What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I have been waiting for what felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back. Her name is... yes, here we are. Miss Green. Let me look at this Stay Puft. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artisan's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Why is it so... big? Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical I know, right? Typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Look, there's a photograph in the frame here. Who is this boy? Oh yes, the picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Okay. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Easel. Curtain. Paper. This looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place? A zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman. I hope she hasn't read this. There are are lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that?
If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep.
That's a worry. But at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one.
Oh, I have no doubt you'd manage to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well.
There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Mrs. Otto.
That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings.
She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though.
I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her.
Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt, and...
No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings.
But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel, and other candy.
Yee! A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo! An enormous mouse!
Vermin in a hospital. That doesn't seem the best.
But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it?
It's very plump. I'm not sure you can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Maybe the do not feed is for the rat, mouse, and this is hers, maybe. This looks like the treatment notes. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so he or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. There are all sorts of medicines in the cabinet. Not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this. Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to scare the cabinet doors.
I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worried that you break the lock.
Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Mrs. Otto.
Is that everything?
I think... Okay. Good morning. Hello, I'm, Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan.
Oh no! Was it your knife that... Are you the man who...
I'm not sure what voice to give her. No, I'm a lawyer.
And I'm Susato Mikatova. Pleased to meet you. Oh no! Was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you regained consciousness and wanted to come and give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back.
I don't think that's related, actually.
Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down.
Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. About the incident. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green.
It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in hospital, I mean.
Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly, by none other than I, Herlock Shrooms.
Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard-working court that solved the case.
Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green?
Yes, I'm afraid so. Gentlemen from the police force are supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly.
Oh, I see.
Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me.
Oh no, we're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. But about yourself. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green?
Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndyke Academy of Fine Arts.
Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts. Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts?
Oh no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road.
I see. How very interesting.
Oh no, is it?
Brixton is some 10 stops away on the underground from here, and Thorndyke Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton town centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less laborious part of the town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the magnificent Mr. Moustache. Inferior means? I suppose Sasaki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine arts student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly climbed up.
Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself, prying into a young maiden's private affairs.
Ha 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 ha! Oh dear me, do forgive me!
If you don't mind, I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things.
Oh yes, of course, we won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there Mr. Narrow Fodder here? Mr. Narrow Fodder? Narrow Fodder now. Narrow Fodder. Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo the lawyer, that's me, but... Mr. Narrow Fodder, good, this is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Natsume. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me?
But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume?
Exactly. What's going on? What's the Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Ugh, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I have? It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once.
Murder?
Call a cab. Time is of the essence.
But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note.
I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodging, but we did. That will be entirely convenient.
Convenient? What do you mean?
It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Moustache's lodgings.
Wait, what? I'll hail a Factor at once. I don't know British terms. If that is British. I assume it is. It was only yesterday that Sasaki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address. He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought.
21st February, 7:18, Mr. Nutsme. Ground floor. This guy. What on earth?
Oh my! The gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead.
Look upstairs, Mr. Naruto Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day to this. No early bird should catch a worm like this. Woeful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Moustache. Ugh. Heart the horrible Sherlock Holmes. Shoo, shove off. Show yourself the door. I never invited you.
Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume.
I'm entirely at your disposal, Mr. Moustache. What can I do for you? Here they are, already, the busybodies. Ah, Inspector Gregson, what a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Sholmes. Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene, don't you go touching anything. Or good morning to you too, Sunshine? Oh, you said hands off, you're gonna mess up my crime scene. Oh, sorry. No, I just want to look, that's all. No chance, I know you're kind, you'll mess it up just by looking at it. Someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright, it sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Alright. Mr. Inspector... So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shamspeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. A bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just dead.
Mr. Shamspeare?
It was the landlord, old Mr. Garridib, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fellow didn't rise at his usual hour, so Garridib got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Garridib have a bad leg? Oh yeah, you're right there. It was that jittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really, Saseki-san. The victim was pretty hard up, it seems, even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the main cohabitor. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you?
Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again.
It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he?
Poor man. How unfortunate.
Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fellow's been a goner that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Am I allowed to look now? No? Okay. What a terrible thing to have happen. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just 1 story up, isn't it? I didn't know they spelled story with an E, but alright. Yes, that's right. In a way, we're neighbors, I suppose. So did you know the victim? Were you friends? Nope. I'm gonna take that as a no. What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never. On my honor, I swear it. What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come through that inspector over there. Okay. I can't do any... Oh my god, what are you doing? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness! But isn't that everything you need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you proposed the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there's a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. No, nonsense. Ah? Alright, Mr. Natsume. Why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please. Pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course. Let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes is the logic and reasoning spectacular, Act 1. The game is afoot. Cause of death. I was kind of hoping he would still be in his detective outfit, but whatever. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that this man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. The blood in this foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap, and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Poisoning from soap ingestion. Suicide or murder? The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? Audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. But we can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter. No possible perpetrator present. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You're disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deduction touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense. Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deduction may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it into an obtuse angle. That's why is he stopping in that pose? When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. Sherlock Holmes's Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. It's just so ridiculous seeing him and his detective, and then it just changes into this festival thing. Could it be the man who's about to eat it? The fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap. Hello? Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamsbeard must really have loved his stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table? What the? How can that be? I think that there are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Do you think he was drinking tea with his soap? The cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing. How about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water, and he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp as much down as possible. Please remember that he may not actually have been the soap lover that he's been made out to be. Well, I think maybe he was struck on the head or something.
Take that!
Like someone threw it at him? I don't know. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table, ensured the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soup is besmirched with foul poison. Yes, victims like Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it. If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Like, I don't know if it's the pattern on the teacup, or that's, like, soap. Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves. It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty. So we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly. Okay, well, I guess it's the teacup. If the victim didn't eat the soap, then what did he eat? Yes, it's a real mystery, isn't it? Ah, I got it. He wasn't interested in eating the soap at all. It was this fork he wanted to satisfy his hunger with. Mr. Naruhodo, I really don't think it's helpful to continue with this line of reasoning. The gentleman had particular tastes. Sato-san is such a gentle way with words, but I know when I've been told off. Can I look at this stain on the table? The contents of the plate is just the soap again, isn't it? Well, you know, there's a saying in Japanese, don't you? If your food is poison, you might as well eat it, plate and all. Well, there's an image. All I can picture now is the victim first taking a bite of the soap and then the plate. The soap like some tofu, and the plate like a giant rice cracker. Oh dear, that sounds like a very bland combination. Okay, it has to be the teacup. I don't see anything else.
Take that!
Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. Except for that little spill there. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Poison in the tea. The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deductions so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Shum suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for more clues. Other teacup. It's another Western vessel for... It's a teacup! And it too is empty. Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand, we can assume that this is the cup in which Mr. Shamspeare was actually drinking. But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we deduced up till now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it. Yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Take that!
Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in the room last night taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish. What more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the balance out. I mean to say you know exactly who was in the room at the time of the victim's death. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap. But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. Okay, who was in here? It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. Bother. Suzato-san's quick response was cleverer than my original riddle. At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and Emile Figaro. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. Sasaki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them, that's right. And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. Strange. What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Pile of familiar books. Candle. You and Mr. Shamster didn't eat candles, it seems. We already established that you didn't eat soap either. Do you think perhaps the guest brought this candle here last night? And if he or she did, does it reveal anything about the guest's identity? Good point. There goes my idea, snuffed out like that candle will be. If you sigh so deeply, Mr. Naruhodo, you're in danger of blowing out the flame.
Take that!
Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Ugh. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No, never. Non-negotiable. If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodging after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in this room last night, sort of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor was you, Mr. Saseki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Saseki Natsume at the scene. Elementary. Not again, not again, not again. Not again! Well then, Mr. Natsume, it would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard again. But wait! Hold your horses! Yes? Door. Key. Locked. Entry. Exit. Entirely impossible. He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal. What, you think there's an alibi? You could have just made a copy. Well, you live in the same building after all. You'd have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. But... Misery me! Sorry, sir, you'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. You horrible Sherlock Holmes. He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting. No considerate Mr. Naruto, Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me. Please, please. I'm innocent. Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken. Saseki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. And of course... What? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garrett, who discovered Mr. Shamspeare. Ah, Mr. John Garrett, yes. I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right, we must remember to go and talk to him later then. This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where does the audience sit, though, for the nightly Shakespeare performances? Actors aspiring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruto, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the defense in your office. What? Sorry, something popped up on the screen and it freaked me out. On the computer. Then you could practice your art every single day. I'll think about it. If you promise to don a beard and play the role of the judge. Is this computer alright? Stop acting weird. I'm dropping stuff. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal. This I have to see. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to a gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. This building's gonna blow up someday. And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. I see. Yes, now you pointed it out. I can see that there's a slot just here that looks like it would take a coin. So you mean if you put a coin in here? That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. So if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold.
Yes, or if you were scatterbrained with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. Oh, the poor man. So young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was? I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder. Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul? Sorry. I made sure I had a reference at the ready for just such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. I'll just reread it now. One moment. There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? Ah, one of the teacups that Mr. Shamspeare and his guests drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's bitter poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. That's true, so one was Mr. Shamspeare's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from. But Saseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. Pair of teacups. Look at these extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room with its grim, shady goings-on. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? I always dreamt of being a king. Oh, I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord, a damo or such like. With a chanmage topknot. Every Japanese man wishes he had a chanmage. Oh, you look wonderful with one. And you already have the sword. Can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chanmage and a sword? There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked. Yes, not much use, are they? What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Prosecutor Lord Van Zeeks? Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy. You can suggest it next time we meet. What is this? What's this? It looks like part of an envelope, I think. Envelope? Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter was open. Is that significant? Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. There's no sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? Ah, she's right. And yet, here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual. I agree. We better take this, just in case. Torn off envelope. Is that... As you've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to pay. Strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in the property. It's extraordinary. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to afford an unaffordable tax. Oh, what is it, Mrs. Otto? If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose. Soap! Oh yes, it looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shamspeare who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger running this room. Ah, look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge. And there's something on it. What outside? The soap. Ugh, it's so cold outside. You could feel it through the gap. It did snow last night. It would be cold. But more importantly, what is it on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps? It's more bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I have no idea, but the pair of them look rather charming like that. Still, it's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window. I think perhaps we should take one. There are two after all. Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at the soap. Do you see, in the middle there? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hinamaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand. Expensive? Then what's it doing in this ramshackle room? Bar of soap. I guess that's everything. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Inspector Gregson, back so soon. After I threw that little Japanese fella in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place would be cordoned off by the law. Yard. Blah. Oh, I see. Well, we better be leaving then. Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in his cell again so soon. I'm sure. We should probably go and... What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah! Out! Out, brief candle! Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player! That struts in first his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next pot? It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Indeed, oh happy day! Walking Dead! He took the death drop, literally. The fella isn't dead at all. What was that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to the nearby hospital for treatment, and Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. Can I help you, person in bright yellow? Whatever do you think will happen now? Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life. I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison as we deduced. But was it an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody. I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Saseki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me, could we have a word?
He just ran off.
I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it?
I do too, but I don't remember. More soap. The section of the top floor where Mr. and Mrs. Garrett live, all the windows are bricked up.
Yes, that's because of an old window tax that was higher than the number of windows the property had. In order to pay less tax, the poorer members of society filled in many of their windows.
Tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could all be opened up again, surely.
Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of the district can afford to pay to have the work done.
Yes, that's a sad state of affairs.
Especially for people like poor Natsume, who have to live all cooped up in a windowless room.
I suppose that's the price you pay for living in very cheap accommodation.
It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that.
There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Garrett residence.
I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact.
That one seems very warped, though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think?
No, I'm afraid that may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly afflicted.
Then there's a good chance Mr. Natsume had been practicing on this bicycle, I think.
Oh dear, I fear you may be right.
Garrett household. Sometimes when I look at the building, I can't help feeling that it's a bit of a slant.
It does really look as though it would collapse in even the smallest earthquake, doesn't it?
London's blanketed in fog again. Sky's covered in clouds. Make out Crystal Tower.
The Crystal Tower, yes, the centerpiece of the great exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time.
Everyone's talking about it.
It's the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world. I can't wait for it myself.
Do you think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry?
Last great exhibition that was held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seems. And this time, the British are determined to make it an even bigger success to outdo the Paris exhibition.
I see. It's an incredible number of people. This water bottle. I am just struggling tonight. And with so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip in unnoticed.
There's always the honest approach of buying tickets at the main entrance for Naruhodo. Snowman.
Why has somebody built this snowman on some sort of pedestal?
It's not a pedestal, it's part of the body.
Really, but it already has a perfectly good body.
Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner.
And now we're looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man, I know how he feels. So, Animal Crossing is British?
If anything, it's Japanese and British too.
Never mind.
That are the strange ones, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections, head, torso, and legs.
Do you ever think that perhaps you think about things too much? Why do they have only 2 balls? Whoops. And I go back here. Perhaps we should put the spade away somewhere. That's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? You're so right, Naruhodo-san. We mustn't quarrel over such trifles. Reflection then, I think I'll leave this spade where it is. Yes, I think that's for the best. We may need a shovel when we're working in the garden. Why is it so empty in here? Thanks for keeping sea creatures. I guess this is like before they had all their furniture, because it's like it's a weird time thing. Clever. I'm not sure that's really the idea. I heard that there's another room behind that door. Yes, it's my bedroom, Naruhodo-san, as you well know. Shall I help you unpack your things? That's very kind, but no thank you. Your luggage looks very heavy. Are you sure I can't help you move it? That's very kind, but really, no thank you. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Only secret I have is the 5 yen banknote hidden on the backside of my Daruma doll. You. Seki-san is so terribly unlucky, isn't he? Say that again. Suspected of 2 different murders in 2 days. I've never known anybody to be so badly in the wrong place at the wrong time so many times. I have. And I'm looking at him right now! You know, I hadn't really considered it much before, but I think you might be right. I've been quite unlucky in that respect, haven't I? Am I cursed? Oh no, Naruhodo-san, I'm sure you're overthinking it. Alright. Shelves. Notice machine. This great access scope. Sorts these shelves. Violin, shoddy something. Yes, wonderful adventure, Stradivarius, Stradivarius, Stragaberg. Are you even trying now? I'll come back to this another time, I think. Do you like this fireplace? Hello, are you young Japanese kotatsu? Do be careful, don't mistakenly put your feet into the fire, will you? You'd suffer terrible burns, you know. I worry sometimes about how Susanoo-san sees me. Curious and middle shelf. More curious, the same as his father. I mustn't look in there. No secret. Let's begin. As soon as it's all okay. Never have I solved such a case, he said. Sometimes I wonder if he's from another planet. Look at these Mentos. Hi, Iris. Yes, and where do you note down ideas? What's on the blackboard? Buck up, Bruno. What is this? I'm just playing around with ideas for the title of next month's installment. Yeah, the barrel cornets. I'm not about which one to use. What do you think, Bruno? Anything but buck up, Bruno, obviously. I suppose you're right. I tell you what, I'll surprise you with it. Just you'll have to wait until next month and see. So many sleepless nights. Thanks, Tracy, how pretty. After you've drunk it, I'll collect some experimental data. Iris. That's incredible concentration, that is. I find it quite remarkable how she can focus on so many different things at once. Perhaps I should try drinking more herbal tea. 1/3 from the right would be good for you, you know? Iris. This girl is destined for great things, I'm sure. If I remember correctly, this large imposing lump of iron is called a typewriter. I think that every single one blossomed from this very machine. It's such a dreamy thought. Perhaps we had to go on. Metal bars that move when you hit the keys got all tinkled up somehow. Mr. Naruhodo, you're ruining my dreamy thoughts. Please don't do that again. Now I made Susanoo sound angry as well. Don't interrupt my dreamy thoughts. Okay, I guess that's everything. Mouse. Rat. Nothing new. I was kinda expecting to see her lock here. Okay, there is nothing new, I don't think. Okay, let's go to the Gyarados. Here we are again, the eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode. We're here because Mr. Gyarados the one who discovered the incident this morning, don't forget. Ah, you chap, sir. Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday. It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Gyarados as anyone, really. Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning. I
wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Gerdib.
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room. Those are exactly Inspector Grayson's words, weren't they?
I'm gonna look around. Single apron. Hold on, did he just say cannon horse? Just cannon-shaped clothes horse. Copy Rants magazine. Love shows. Isn't it wonderful? Naturally. Oh no. Look out, Mr. Garrett. We got a Herlock stand over here. It's her uniform. The text would go faster because this is so painful. I missed what she said. It probably wasn't important, but yeah, it's not important. Screen's hiding now. Some blush cake. What a waste of cake.
his top knot again. Taiwan? Is that like Taiwan? Incident. Well, it must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what happened. Oh, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no bolly answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door.
Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course. Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour.
That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes of oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning.
Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that.
Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden? Rick said that it was a sorry situation indeed that he found on the far side of the door.
Mr. Shamspear. Mr. Shamspear, is that right? Yes, William Shamspear took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
And how would you describe him?
In a word, destitute.
Destitute?
Yes, well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bully screw loose. So hard to choose which category Saseki-san would fall into.
Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude.
He was doing research as well.
Research? Into what?
Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated.
It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sal, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There are a lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there?
Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamspear would have had much in common.
Shakespearean interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that.
Mr. Naruhodo, really, how rude.
Yesterday, after Natsume's trial yesterday, I came straight back here, believed, and did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well, now it must have been 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember. Completely dark already. Failed actor chap was out that time. Scared to notice there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so we just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shamspear got back, and the chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there. Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Is everything alright, Mrs. Otto?
Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Gerardib, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly.
I'm not a big fan of stairs, not with this blasted leg.
Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant of the ground floor, I mean.
That's a very good point. Can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenant? Is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking. It's a bully outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants, or would I?
Then how do you know, Mr. Gerardib?
It's the gas, woman. The gas tells me everything.
The gas?
What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything? Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I'd more or less worked that out.
Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main.
Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen? Well, obviously the room would get brighter. Exactly, but at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment. What? They dim? Why?
Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it?
Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe.
Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable.
Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless. Haven't got any gas now to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. The energy lamps up in the go round. It's the house. Right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere. You've got it.
Oh, of course, because when people come back home in the evening and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires. Clever.
Clever. And point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. Watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on.
Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Gerardib. Absolutely fascinating.
Oh well, nothing to it really. Can't really see that's gonna help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Gerardib is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again.
A good idea.
Your books. Nearby street map. Pair of teacups. This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. Always gulp it down, too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, if you just sip a little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea. This must be the cup Mr. Shamsby was drinking from. Same on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. Really, I've never noticed before.
You never noticed.
Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it?
Oh dear. So many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese.
marks here important? Like, this is a 1 and a 2. I don't know. It's nothing, I guess. I guess that's it. Torn off envelope. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mrs. Otto, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never! Whoops. I meant to press the back button. Bar of soap. Oh. What is it, Mr. Naruhodo? This bar of soap. When we first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in this depression just here, a reddish one. Yes, you're right. I remember it too. But now the depression is completely empty. Where could the disc have gone? Suspicious. I guess it wouldn't hurt to do this. Mr. Gyarados could have showed you this. In quite a couple of days, as you can imagine. I'm afraid I'm rather tired. Alright then. Some other time. Okay, bye. Prison. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now? Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Oh, yes? What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes? He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. But his diabolical deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Cursed. I'm cursed, I tell you. Well, that sort of hurts. Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yes, moving on, we have some wonderful news. Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. Now, in the absolutely worst case, he could only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume? It's terrible. Oh. I'm stuck in a cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions. I'm sorry to hear that. The selfish shyster. Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wiggity, wishy-washy, William. Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspeare was never actually dead in the first place. Oh, yes, that might make sense, and I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last. Oh. Oops. Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspeare, didn't you? I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present. Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story. Why am I cursed like this? What happened? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume? nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that cursed case yesterday. A case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back. It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings. And that evening, at past 9 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspear. So you did go to the victim's room then? As we feared. I didn't do anything wrong. I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time. Then what made you decide to go? I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell. Farewell. That ties in with what Mr. Gertib said, that the victim went out and came back after 8. We met again later that evening at around 9 or just after, when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift. So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then. And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet. Who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate. Who would be stronger? I'm sure. Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare. And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shamspear's tea. No, never. Not at all. Team Juliet won. That was me. And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it categorically. Cursed existence. Mr. Nutsmay, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time I've learnt that it's no place for me. It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture. There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me, they all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember, and then 1 week ago I moved into Briar Road. But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me. The rent? Obviously, there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed how? The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. Oh no! He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why. Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that. I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning. Brave or blinkered? But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was. Gosh, was it really so awful? How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened? At first, it was just the feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me. Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you? No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place. A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean? All the souls who've died in that room are laying over me in my sleep and try to strangle me. That really is horrible. And now I come to think of it, that happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shamspear was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible.
Yes, you're right. I knew it. I know it, and that's why. I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home.
I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodation with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. Sada-san knows how to make the man listen.
Of course, Mr. Lord Delmano is worried about the curse on my room as well.
You mean Mr. Garrett?
Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again.
Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Ah! Perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements.
You mean because he's worried about their well-being?
He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his lit rooms.
What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps?
Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please forget I said anything.
Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well.
What's important is that Mr. Shamspear isn't in fact dead at all. Once he comes around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released.
Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. Excuse me? Inspector Gregson, I couldn't help obey you in what you just said, and on that note, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh, which you want first? Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Right, well, in that case, the good news it is. Huh? Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way. Then why did you ask me my preference? As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, was just unconscious. He's come around now. Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory. He's still been treated by the doctors, but we managed to get a written statement from him already.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave this somber cell. Sorry, no, that's not on the cards. What?
Why ever not, Inspector?
Mr. Shamspear has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night. Implicated someone?
Oh dear.
You don't mean... I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume. By sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wicked Catlif, Saseki Natsume. No! I'm afraid he'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations. No! And so, once again, Saseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted, or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. Let's see. Should I end it here? Or... yeah, I should probably save the trial for later. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you are enjoying it. We'll see how the trial goes. I don't know if Shamspear is his actual name or not, but maybe we'll find out. I don't know. So, anyway, stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!